Story 1. The city always seemed like it had exciting things to offer, but I never thought I'd go through something so scary in my shared apartment. My roommate Alex was friendly, and we became good friends quickly. We spent lots of time playing video games late at night and having long talks. But after a while, I noticed Alex acting weird, and it led to a really scary night that I can't forget. It started with little things. Sometimes Alex would just stare into space like he wasn't really there. At first I thought he was just tired or stressed, but then I saw even scarier stuff. He'd talk in a low, strange voice that didn't sound like him, and his eyes looked really dark and weird. He'd disappear for hours, and when he returned, he wouldn't say where he went. His clothes were all messed up, and there was something strange about him. One night I woke up, and the room was freezing cold. The moonlight made creepy shadows on the walls. I looked at Alex and his eyes were open, but they weren't his eyes. They were empty and dark, like they could swallow everything. I whispered, "Alex?" I was really scared. He turned his head to look at me slowly, and he had this creepy smile on his face. It was a smile that made me shiver, a smile that wasn't his. When he talked, his voice was cold and scary, like a wind from a graveyard. "You shouldn't be here," he said, full of hate. I felt really scared, like something not from this world was in him. I wanted to escape that room and the scary thing inside Alex, but I couldn't move. I was too scared to believe what I was seeing. When he talked, the air felt heavy and strange, like I couldn't breathe. I was stuck, just watching this nightmare happen. And it didn't make any sense. Alex moved weirdly, like he wasn't himself. He got up from his bed and came closer to me without making any noise on the carpet. His eyes looked crazy, like there was something in them that wasn't human. His hand reached out to me like a claw. Something inside me woke up and I finally moved. I fell backward and knocked over a chair, making a loud noise. Alex's scary look went away for a moment. I felt really determined. I couldn't let whatever was in Alex hurt me. I had to fight back and make my home safe again. I punched him and tried to run out of the apartment, but he was blocking the door, looking at me with that scary smile. I froze, but then I dodged when he jumped at me. He fell on the floor, and that was my chance. I ran outside and called 911 right away. Later, they said Alex was sick in his mind, and they put him in a mental hospital.
Story 2. Moving to a new apartment was exciting because rents were very high in the city. I was happy to find a place with a good price and a nice roommate named Sarah. She was friendly and wanted us to have a good time living together. But as time went on, I felt something strange about Sarah. At first, I noticed she had weird times for being awake. She would leave and come back in the middle of the night, saying her work schedule was unpredictable. I didn't worry too much, but then I saw stains on her clothes. She said it was just coffee or food, but the stains were a strange color that made me feel uneasy. One night, I woke up to a scary scream coming from Sarah's room. I got scared and knocked on her door a lot. Finally, she opened it and acted surprised. "Are you okay?" I asked, feeling scared myself. She laughed nervously and said it was just a bad dream. I had a hard time sleeping after that. I thought there was something more to her scream that she wasn't telling me. The following day, I saw her cleaning a big knife in the kitchen. I tried to sound calm when I asked her what she was doing. "Just getting ready for work," she said, holding the knife. I acted like it was no big deal. But I had scary thoughts. Could it have been her scream I heard? Was she doing something dangerous? The pieces of the puzzle started coming together, and it was really scary. After a while, I saw a news article online about terrible murders in the city. The victims were young women, and the way they were killed was like the stains on Sarah's clothes. I got really scared reading it. Everything was pointing to Sarah. It felt like a big cloud of doubt was over me, and I felt trapped. I decided to do my own research. I looked up the victims and tried to find out more about Sarah's life. The more I found out, the more I thought that Sarah wasn't who she said she was. One night, when she wasn't home, I looked at the things I had found and went into her room to talk. I knew it was risky, but I had to do it. Her room was like a scary treasure chest. There was a secret space under the floor with old newspaper pieces, stories, and even creepy things that were linked to the people who got hurt. My heart raced when I realized what was true. Sarah was the person who hurt others, the one I lived with, talked to, and shared meals with. Was the one who did the terrible things that scared the whole city. I saw a small box with jewelry and clothes that had red marks on them. There was even a part of a finger in there. Those were probably things she took from the people she hurt. Then, I heard a voice behind me. "Why are you in my room?" It was Sarah, holding a big knife with red stuff on it. Before she could hurt me, I opened the big window and ran as fast as I could. I didn't stop until I was far away. I didn't even go back to get my things. The next day, I told the police what happened. They found proof that she hurt other people, but there was no sign of her anywhere.
Story 3. I moved to a new city for college and shared an apartment with a guy named Eric. He was cool, but there was a strange feeling about the apartment. Each night I felt like something was watching me from my closet. I thought it was just my imagination, but Eric's belief in the weirdness started making me think. "It's the closet," he'd say, scared and interested. "There's something in there, I know it." I'd laugh, thinking he was stressed from all the moving. But over time, I started wondering if he could be right. During a stormy night, my doubts began to fade. Rain hit the windows like drums. The apartment was cold even though the heat was on. I sat on my bed looking at the closet. It was just a closet, I told myself. But then I heard it, a soft, rhythmic scratching from inside. My heart raced and I couldn't breathe. My roommate, reading a book, looked at me. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, trying to stay calm. He nodded, his face pale. "I told you, something's in there." I walked towards the closet slowly, like distance could keep me safe. The scratching was maddening, like it was driving me crazy. With a quick look at my roommate, I took a deep breath and opened the closet door. The closet was empty except for coats and shoes, but I saw something. An odd spot at the back, like a hidden space. The closet had a secret, and I wanted to find it. My hands shook as I found an old diary. Dust floated as I opened it, showing old writing. My roommate looked too, curious now. The diary was from the last person who lived here, Samuel. It started normal, talk about life, work, weather. Then it got crazy. Samuel heard voices at night, secrets that drove him mad. He wrote about sleepless nights hiding from the invisible thing that haunted him. As I kept reading, the scratching noise in the closet got louder. It was like reading the diary had woken up something bad. My skin got all bumpy and I started sweating. The writing in the diary got messy and hard to read as Samuel got more and more crazy. "Leave," I said quietly as I read the last part. "Leave before it's too late." When I read those words, I felt really scared. I felt like the diary was warning me to get out fast, so I packed my stuff and left the apartment right away. I didn't know where to go, so I got a room in a cheap motel for a while. That night, I slept well in the motel. It was much better than the scary nights before. The next day, I saw on TV that an apartment nearby had caught on fire. When I found out more, I got scared again. It was the apartment where I used to live with Eric. I'm so happy I left. Eric was out when it happened, so he was safe too.
Story 4. I moved to a new city and was a bit nervous about sharing an apartment with someone I didn't know. My roommate, Emily, seemed nice at first. We talked about our interests, shared stories, and laughed together. But then some strange things happened that really scared me. At first, it was small stuff. Emily seemed to know what I was doing, like she was with me all the time. She'd talk about my work or the movie I watched alone in my room the night before. I thought it was just a coincidence, or maybe I had mentioned it without realizing it. But then things got weirder. One evening, I got a text from Emily describing what I was wearing, and I hadn't even left my room yet. It was creepy, and I looked around my room for hidden cameras or something, but I didn't find anything. I talked to Emily about it, and I was really scared and mad. She acted like it was a joke, but her smile didn't look real. And I knew something was wrong. That night, I locked my door because I felt so uneasy. As time went on, it got worse. I'd wake up and find notes on my pillow, telling me about my dreams from the night before. And they were exactly right. I changed my Wi-Fi password a bunch of times, thinking she was getting into my stuff, but it didn't stop. It felt like she knew everything about my life, and I wanted it to stop. Then one day, I realized she had gone too far. I took a day off work because I said I was sick and wanted to read at home. I didn't tell Emily about it, but when I got back to my room, my book was open to the page I was reading, and she had written stuff in the margins. I felt my heart racing because I knew she had been in my room while I was out, going through my stuff and invading my privacy. It felt so wrong, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I talked to her again, and this time I was really determined. I wanted answers. She admitted to everything like it was no big deal. She said she used a spare key she had borrowed while I was out. She said she was just curious and wanted to get to know me better. But her words didn't make it better. I couldn't trust her anymore. And I felt like she was always watching me. The apartment, which used to be a safe place, became scary and full of paranoia. I knew I had to get out of there. I found a new apartment and moved out while Emily was at work. I left a note saying I couldn't live with someone who invaded my privacy like that. I was so relieved to leave that creepy place, but I still felt scared from the experience. And I never shared an apartment with someone again.